back to you again. We're going to address what size do we need, and we're also going to touch on how to set up your leg kit, what is preload. We're going to go into some details about that should make it easier to size your kit up. So ultimately we have a kit number 1, as we call it, kit number 2, kit 1 through 3.5, and kit 3 and 4. So we're going to start on the left and we're going to work our way back. We're going to address kit 1. So ultimately this is how you're going to receive the package. You're going to see the wiring harnesses here, your plastic shims, you have a bag with hardware and 2 fuses, you have 2 steel feet. Let's just set this over here to clean this up just a little bit. You have 2 steel feet and 2 3-hole legs. So with this kit, what you're going to do is this. Your kit is adjustable. This kit is adjustable from 2¼ inches to 4½ inches. So with any application, if you are going to be using the 2-hole leg, and how you're going to know this is you're going to set the base plate up and the top plate up, how the units that we've already described in previous videos, you're going to get that set up on the bike and working. Then the best thing to do is to take the bike off the lift or off whatever surface you're working on and put it on the ground, lower the bike all the way down, and where the shaft, you see the shaft and you'll see MRI washers and bolts, that's where these legs are going to attach. For all practical purposes, if you set this down and you have this installed, you're going to be able to walk up to your bike on the ground if it's aired all the way down and the shaft is this far away from the ground, you're naturally not going to be using this leg. So you're going to be able to start just by eyeballing which one is going to be closer. Some applications you're going to be right in between, but for the most part you're going to be able to tell which one to start with. So we have a 23-inch bike and it's got an 18-inch rear and it only has rear air ride. Just from previous sales, you're going to be using the 3-hole leg in that application 90% of the time. With any kit that we talk about as far as fitment, you're going to start by picking your leg and using the steel foot. The steel foot always has to be used. So with the hardware given to us in the kit, we're going to take this out, take all our hardware out. We can go ahead and separate this. Make a little room here for us to see. You're going to see ultimately how we have this kit designed as far as hardware. You're going to notice that there's 4 of the smaller screws. There's 2 screws that are a little bit bigger, 2 screws a little bit bigger, so on and so forth. And each one of these there's a 1/4 inch change. Okay, so when you pick the appropriate size leg, again you're going to always use the steel foot, and you're going to use 2 of these screws that we've provided for each leg, and they're going to go in these recessed pockets. You would screw these in. We recommend that you use Blue Loctite on these fasteners here. So let's say for all practical purposes that this is attached. We've screwed this in. Now we've got this on the motorcycle just like this. It can go on the bike just like this. You do not have to use any of the plastic pieces provided. It can be used just like this. Let's say that we rotate the leg down, we drop the air ride down, and the ground is right here. We're a ways away yet. So again, we're going to leave this attached and we're going to start using these shims. So the way these work is you have 8 total shims. You're going to notice that you have 2 bottoms, and the way to decipher the bottom is that it has a flat head style counter bore in it. And what that means is when you drop this screw in here, it's going to sit in here flush. These you have, and again, you have 2 of these. You'll have 6 in total spacers that go in between. You'll notice with these that they do not have a counter bore, and you'll notice that these have 2 lips on them versus 1 lip in this application. Single lip, double lip. These are for the middle. Again, this is for the bottom. If you were to set this in here, you'll see this does not look right. This does not look right. So, going back to where we were, again, this is attached on here. Your steel foot's always attached. You're rolling your leg down. You drop your bike down. The ground is right here. We're going to start with these shims. Each one of these is a 1/4 inch. Let's say that you are 1/2 inch away from the ground. I recommend that you have a 1/4 inch of preload, meaning that you would need to put 3 shims on to start. You'll still need to check fitment past that point. If you set it up to 1/2 inch to where it just barely touches, meaning that I'm always going to use the bottom because it's got the counter bore, and I'm going to use one of these, so that's going to total a 1/2 inch. I'm going to stack these together. You can see how they fit together. I'm going to set this on here. Again, let's say this is on here. I'm going to set this on the steel foot, and you're going to notice there's 1 spot for a fastener to go. And you're going to be, in this instance, using the 2nd longest screw. So this would be coming out, and that would be threading into your steel foot. I've grabbed a couple tools, and we're going to actually put this together to kind of rule out anything. So if Miss Rach, you want to come on over. Again, we're going to go back to our hardware pile here. You're going to see that the 4 of the short screws. We're going to go ahead and get one of these legs going. In actual application, you're going to want to use Blue Loctite again on these, but for today, we're just going to go ahead and get this started so you can see kind of what's going on here. Hopefully it makes sense. You see how nice and easy these go in here? They should always be pretty much that easy. If you find yourself struggling to get them in, then you just want to check to make sure it doesn't have a burr on it or something else. So you don't really want to force this in because the screw could possibly break if it does, but again, that's traditionally the fit that you should have. So again, Loctite installed. I would tighten these up a lot more, but again, today we're just mocking it up. So in every application, you're always going to have this steel foot installed. So again, I know I'm kind of touching over the same things, but I just want to try to make a few points clear. So again, we're dropping the bike down and everything is lowered out. We're a 1/2 inch away. So we're going to go at that point to our shim packs. Okay, each one of these is a 1/4 inch thick. We've already went over the bottoms and the centers. So right now we're going to start to address preload. So if I were to take 2 of these, 1/4, this is a 1/2 in total, I could go ahead and put this on again, counter bore. I'm going to go to my hardware pack over here, and I'm going to pick, since I've got 2 shims, I'm going to pick the 2nd longest one. See, longest, 2nd, this is our second shortest, I'm sorry. So we would go ahead and thread this in. So let's say this is in, and we've lowered the bike with the air ride, the legs down. We've lowered it, and now we've got it to where this is just touching the ground. It will most likely work like this, but you're set up for problems. Number one, in other videos we've kind of touched on this. This is how you're going to get a lot of transfer of the weight of the bike right up in here. And here's ultimately what happens. Is in a perfect parking scenario, if you're on your shop floor, your garage floor, where you know it's flat, then you may come down and just touch down this, and this is ultimately what's called zero preload, meaning that it's just resting on it. So if you were to take the bike out and you were to park it in any other application, say you've got a slight uphill, decline, rocks, whatever really the case may be, you're going to find that when you're dropping your bike down, you may be about like right here right now. So you're not quite there. So it may be just enough to where you think it's good and you get off your bike and it's staying there, but ultimately again all this stress, all this weight is leaning on the bike. The bike is leaning actually because it's touching like this now. and you could run into a problem here. So going back to preload, if you're a ½ an inch away, you want to use 3 of these, and that's what's going to get you a ¼ inch of preload. So we would use, again, 3 shims if we were a ½ an inch away, 3/4 of an inch. We would use our 3rd longest screw, again, since we have 3 of these, so we would use this. We would insert this in here, again, using Blue Loctite. Fasten this down. Again, this is going to start very nicely, just like the other kit. And now we have the appropriate size leg for our application. So we're dropping it down. It's going to hit before it typically would, and the weight of the bike is going to settle on this. So what you've got out of that is kind of twofold. You've got, number one, 800 pounds sitting on 90 degrees, very stable, versus a leaning type of deal. Secondly, is you're going to be able to park this thing in a lot of different applications. So if you have a slide uphill, your garage, your driveway, however it works out, it'll take it just fine. So we would drop the bike down, and again, a 1/4 inch of weight on it. If you were to start with a 1/4 and you were to notice that you still were to run into problems, or it still wasn't as stable as you had hoped for, or you had went and to some place and it didn't work as well as it should, remember, you always have these, and you should add 1 more of these until you get this to where it's very, very stable. Remember, you're talking about a 1/4 of an inch, so don't think that the bike is going to be held up much higher than its fitment. We're talking about a 1/4 of an inch, so be smart with your bike in the application. So